يدنا محبين وفيهم مهموم إلا وفرج الله همه ولا مغموم إلا وكشف الله غمه ولا طالب حائد إلا وقد الله حائدا وقال علي نزم الله خذنا وسودنا وذلك شيدنا فاز وسود في الدنيا ولا هي ورب الكعبة. Please raise your hand. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا من لا يعلم الغيب إلا هو، يا من لا يدبر الأمر إلا هو، يا من لا يصرف السوء إلا هو، يا من لا يغفر الذنوب إلا هو، يا من يحيي العظام الموتى إلا هو، هو الأول والآخر والظاهر والباطن وهو بكل شيء عليم. وبالحق أنزل وبالحق نزل وما أرسلناك إلا مبشرا ونذيرا وكفاف يا إنسوات وكحامي من سنكاك وبك واحد الأحد الصمد الفرد الذي لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. صلوات.
Salamat Mu'minin. The very exalted status of Hazrat Zainab alayhi salam and her contribution in Karbala, as well as other aspect of the whole life of Al-Bayt, is unprecedented and unparalleled in the history of Islam. I am a mere moderator, but we have a lineup, mashallah, of foremost speakers who are going to be addressing you, speaking about Bibi Zainab and her role in much depth. We commence the program now, but it would be very opportune to really mention some of the happenings which are taking place around the globe. You should know it. It's information. We should all know it as Muslims. The whole Muslim world is engulfed into chaos and destruction, bloodshed. You name it, it's going on. It's not just Shia. Sunni brothers are suffering just as much, at times probably more. In this whole game of bloodshed, the parties which are responsible are nothing but the Salafis and the Wahhabi gangs, which are masquerading around the globe, and they are all over, even here in North America. In the last week of August, brothers and sisters, there was a conference in Grozny, which is a city in Chechnya, part of the Russian Republic. The conference was organized by none other than the Jamiat Azhar, the foremost school of the Sunni Islam, as well as the institution of highest Sunni Islam learning in Damascus and Baghdad. About 200 people participated in the conference. I'm sure some of you know about what happened in the conference. The declaration came out after 3 days. In the conference, noticeably absent and intentionally not invited were the Saudi representatives and from Qatar and other Gulf states. The outcome of the conference came out in a declaration, very, very blunt, very candid, very bold. It said that the Salafi and the Wahhabi, the so-called Salafi and Wahhabi people, it did not call them Muslim, are not part of Sunni Islam. They have nothing to do with us. They have got no role in Islam. And so far as Sunni Islam is concerned, there are only 4 schools: Hanbali, Shafi'i, Maliki, and Hanafi. And these brothers have got nothing to do with us, and we are making this declaration. We have the copies of the declaration. We'll share with you. Saudi Arabia and Qatar and the Gulf states protested vehemently, and the rector, rather the registrar of the Jamiat Azhar, was not moved at all. He did not change his position. He said that's it, and that's what it was. It was a big victory for Islam, alhamdulillah. And we, as Shia Muslims, are very grateful to our Sunni brothers who did really finally recognize that it is important to bring this menace of Wahhabism and Salafism from out of our midst, which really destroying the Salawat, please. I invite Farhan Haidar Naqvi, our young speaker, to please come and speak on the subject of the Zainab.
That a mother teaches or tells a baby before making her go to bed. A baby listens to the voices in the womb of the mother. These are the voices which we hear when children play or elders weep. These are the voices that we hear when nikah is being recited or a janazah is lying in front of us. These are the voices that we hear before birth or after death. One living example of this message being a universal message is this YOM-e-ZAINAB. 21 years ago, this institution, this event started, still continues, and will continue, inshallah. Another example of the universality of this message is from Albania to Indonesia, from Pakistan and India to Lebanon. The message remains consistent. It becomes even more powerful. The teachings remains the same. I don't remember or recall any other institution or any other society which has the same message from one corner of the globe to the other corner. The message of Karbala is much greater than just reading the events of that day. The events of Ashura are grave, but the message is much more. It's an entire institution based on how we grow up. What are the morals of life? How do we treat humanity? Stand with the oppressed. Don't support the oppressor. Fight against terrorism. Never support it. And be with the Aima of Ahl Bayt alayhi salam. Sallu ala Muhammad. US being the microcosm of the entire world, I have been very honored and blessed for this year. I was able to attend various majalis. At Idara Jafriya in Maryland, I learned about why not to backbite, even if it means just leaving the majlis right away, because you lose all your benefits that you've gained in majlis. At MFI, I learned how the Newton's law justified the presence of Allah. At Ghadir Center, I learned how one ashk in the name of Imam Hussain has so many bounties. At ZAINABIA, I learned about the importance of Surah Teen and the significance of 4 qasams. At Muhammadiyya Center, I learned about how to become a great man. At Astana and Baitul Qaim, similarly, a lot of other places, there is always something interesting being taught through majalis, along with the events of Ashura. It seems like it is a message that Allah Ta'ala says in Quran, in Surah Ra'd, verse 13, when Allah talks about water. Allah says, as for the foam that comes on top of the water, it vanishes. But for which benefits the people, it stays on earth. This is the message which has stayed with us for 1400 years and inshallah will remain with us through our generations for eternity. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala. With such consistency comes the question, who laid the foundation of this message? Who laid the foundation of this entire institution? Whether it being the event of Karbala or the events after that. And fundamentally important is the fact that this institution is based on sadness. It's an entire emotion other than celebration where people can come and enjoy and dance and party and take out julus and all of those things. You see all over the world things happen like that, and people follow them because that's entertaining. But coming for the sake of weeping and for sadness is a totally different aspect. One thing that I can think of from my personal experience is that when you're sad, you stay away from a lot of vice that goes on with celebrations. People don't drink, people don't listen to music, people don't go to parties, people do a lot of things just because of the sadness, because it is being bought into their families. So we all know Hazrat Zainab is the founder of this Ajza, and the 14 or 12 Imams have conveyed the message and the importance. And we will hear a lot about Hazrat Zainab over time. And to be honest, no one can justify or do haq ada koi nahi kar sakta for the fact that she was so great. But one interesting thing in this regard is a person comes to Imam Muhammad Baqir alayhi salam, and he asked Imam, you have told me so many ahadith in your stature that elevates your stature so much above that anyone else knows. These all are hidden in my heart. At times I feel so constrained, I want to tell it to others, but you forbid me. Imam said, go to outside of Medina and dig a hole and say whatever you have. For the heart of the moment is the only place which can keep these secrets, which can bear the burden of these dignified attributes. So, I won't go into the details of Hazrat Zainab, but just for a perspective, I've done a few exhibits. So this exhibit over here is a timeline of Hijrah, after Hijrah, to the death of Prophet. And this exhibit over here is from the Khilafat of Imam Ali to Karbala. So Hazrat Zainab was born in 5th Hijri. The Fateh Makkah happened in the 8th Hijri. So one aspect that you might have learned or heard in Majalis is Hazrat Zainab says, Yazid, O son of freed slaves. But the fact is, when Kaaba and Makkah was conquered, Rasulullah didn't take any slaves, any captives. He freed everyone. That's why everyone who was there in Mecca is technically a freed slave. Ghadir happened in 10th Hijri, and 3 months later, Rasulullah dies. Between the two timelines, there is a big void. Things happen in this big void which are in a totally separate subject. But you can see from Khilafat of Imam Ali to the time of Karbala, Bibi Zainab was 55 years old at the time. Think about a woman which is 55 years old, weak, feeble, poor, lost her entire home, entire generation, and now she's standing as a captive in front of a tyrant. And she is giving khutbah after khutbah, declaring the innocence of Imam and the message of Imam to the entire world. What were the qualities that enabled Bibi Zainab in this entire voyage that she undertook? There are like 3 qualities that I can come up with are eloquence, bravery, and belief in the mission of Imam Hussein. I'll talk about eloquence and the faith that she had. From an eloquence perspective, look at the similarities between what Hazrat Ali said in a khutbah in Najl Balagha and what Janab Zainab said in the palace of Yazid. Imam Ali says, None in the Islamic community can be taken at par with the progeny of the Prophet. They are the foundation of religion and the pillars of belief. The forward runner has to turn back to them and the follower has to reach them. Bibi Zainab says in Darbar of Ibn Ziyad and Yazid, by Allah, you cannot remove us from the minds of people and you cannot fade our message. You will never reach our glory and can never wash the stains of this crime from your hand. I thank Allah who has concluded the task of the chiefs of the youth of paradise on us. So one lesson from this quality of Bibi Zainab is we should learn, listen, read about these treasures of our Imams. Najul Balagha, Saifa Kamla, so that our own life we can learn, implement, and improve our own eloquence. The second aspect is the faith in the mission. For our perspective, we have to have a mission in our life. For us, the good part is Imams have already defined the mission for us. The only modalities or the details of the mission we can customize according to what we are supposed to be doing in our life. Whether we're doctor, teacher, engineer, whoever we are, we can customize it. But the fact is, like any corporate organization where there's a vision, everyone aligns themselves to the vision. We need to align ourselves to this mission and work around it. Now, for 1400 years, Shias of Imam Ali have been oppressed. For the first time, there is relief in the air. At this point, in 1400 years, the goal was to survive and maintain this azah. Now the mission is to build on it, to use our freedom, whether it is being a conference where all the centers come and present in half an hour, which was presented in ZAINABIA at Astana, so that everyone comes together and talks about like what are the community needs, what are the community organizations already working. If, for example, Asad wants to work with a community organization, he should know what are the opportunities available. If he doesn't, then how would he become part of the mission? So bringing everyone together, using the freedom that America has given us, we should use it for the betterment of the entire society. So with that, I would like to conclude that we will be asked for what we have done in our life. After Jungle Jamal, one Sahabi of Imam Ali asked, "Oh Imam, it would have been great if my brother would have been here and saw the great victory that we had." Imam Ali said, "Did he love us?" He said, "Yes." He said, "If he loved us, or anyone who loved us was with us in that jung, not only the people who are living, but the people who will come in the future generations." So the only goal is to have that faith and work towards that, and that will be our salvation, inshallah. Sallu ala Muhammad.
Condolences to all of you and to the Imam of our time for the grief and the sorrow and the martyrdom of Abdullah, Imam Hussein alayhi salam, and on the masayib of his aunt, Sayyidah Zainab alayhi salam. And it is truly an honor for us and a privilege and a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be able to get together and remember the Ahlul Bayt, to remember their masayib, and to get the grief and sorrow from here on to the next generation and to people who are not aware of it. There are, of course, many people here who will, inshallah, speak better than me, and the brother who spoke earlier, and he hinted towards a few things that I would like to mention as well. But first I would like to begin with saying that it would be an injustice to say that the status of Sayyidah Zainab alayhi salam in Islam and for the followers of Ahlul Bayt is due to her being the daughter of Imam Ali and Sayyidah Fatima Zahra alayhi salam. That's the reason why she has that status. And we are, unfortunately, sometimes we get to hear that a lot from within our group and even from some people who like to relay the message. But that's just part of her status, because lineage is not really a attribute that you achieve on your own. It's a blessing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you. The true status that you earn is what you do with your life and how you approach the world and how you are able to live your life and how you are able to end it. And the status of Sayyidah Zainab alayhi salam, because of this, her importance in Islam comes from the role that she played.
And I'm very honored to share some words of poetry on this blessed day in this blessed center in honor of Our Lady, Sayyidah Zainab alayhi salam. And these words are from the tongue of Sayyidah Zainab alayhi salam, as she is taken as captive from Iraq in Kufa and to Sham, finally in Sham, and she's experienced all the suffering and torture from the enemies of Islam. She complains to her father, none but her father, Imam Ali alayhi salam. And this is the cries of a broken lady. "Oh father, I wish to ask you a few questions, and you are the most knowledgeable one. I want to ask you about the tragedy of your son, which has broken my back and turned my hair gray. Was it a dream or a nightmare that has taken too long? A heavy feeling in my heart that has frozen up, as if the world has come to a full stop. On that very day my life was shattered. Is it that I am cold-hearted or too patient? Oh father, I wish to ask you just a few questions. They have said that your Hussein is lying on the hot plains on the scorching desert. They said that an arrow has pierced your newborn infant. They said that your Abbas has fallen and has no hands. Yet the flag is somehow rising high by the waters of Furat, as if an angel has taken over the arms of Al-Abbas, even after his demise. But father, where is that water that was promised for my dear ones? Children weeping in silence and despair. A sour melody that brings chills to even the paralyzed one. While the treacherous voice of Shimr, La'natullah alayhi, resonates in my mind, haunting me day and night, which has robbed me from my sleep. Oh father, should I tell you about the blood that has been shed? Non-ending rivers of blood in Karbala that continues to flow. Oh father, what about the body of your Hussein? The feet of the horse is exercising its way on the holy flesh. What about the cursed stick that played its way on his blessed teeth? Or his holy thumb that was not spared and cut off? A scene so drastic that words cannot describe, and the mind gone mad. Oh father, should I tell you about the water that never made its way? Or the flask that was broken after being struck by the vicious one? Soon after our guardian and shining armor Abbas went away, never to come back, for he was too shy to face the little ones. Oh father, that water we didn't want at all. We didn't want it all, and even the rain has complained that it does not deserve to fall. After the purified one has been denied even one drop, his eyes thirsty and tongue waving in silence to be quenched. Oh father, oh Ali, should I tell you more? Should I tell you more of what happened to after Ashura? The orders came to go and make our women captive and take them into the streets with indignity and shame. After our tents were burnt and fear took over our innocent ones, Run for your life was the command of our Imam, with nowhere to go but far, far away. Memories of these tragedies creeping in my heart and mind. But oh Father, my body has only so much to bear. Where are you to help me in this state of mind? Oh Father, the calamities has broken my back time and time again. From Karbala to Sham, they took me in the most shameful way. Shackled in heavy chains, they cuffed Al-Sajjad, the ill one who was so frail, inflicted with so much pain, having to walk endless miles. While the daughters of Muhammad, sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad, while the daughters of Muhammad were slapped and abused, hijab yanked, and respect denied from the most noble ones. How can I explain more and share the story that cannot be told? But today, Ali answers his daughter with a strong voice so strong. I am here by your side, my dearest one. In your shadows I follow and show you the way. In your shadows I follow and show you the way. Invisible I may be, but around you I am. The sufferings you bore and the challenges you faced, the bravery you bore and the challenges, the bravery you showed and the courage you mustered, the promises I shared with you once long time ago, qualities that you have taken from me when you were young. What else can be expected from the daughter of Al-Karrar, the lion of Allah, the shining star of Rasulullah? Yet I myself wonder, how can they take you as captives? As if the massacre on the 10th day of Muharram did not suffice. But my dear one, your efforts and pain will not go in vain. For thousands of years to come, you will serve as an example to all. A woman better than 1,000 men you are. Strength, truth, and piety, just a few of qualities that serve as an exemplar. For what less can be expected of you, O daughter of two purified lights, the lady who is called Thania al-Zahra, for there is no Fatima like her. The one whom men weep for and the present Imam endlessly cries. Your speech which shook the dictators of your time and cast fears in the heart of the oppressors and annihilated arrogance. Indeed, O Zainab, that woman you are who shattered all laws of patience, that even patience itself has decided to change its name. For you have superseded patience and taught it what true sabr is. O Zainab, today your followers vow to you to follow your course till the day we make the qabr becomes our home. And the remembrance of your tragedy and pain I will take with me, for your legacy alive and your message strong for years to come. As we pay our tribute to you and with tears we bid you salam, the cries of a broken lady will forever resonate with the gloomy remembrance of your masa'ib, perfectly summed up in the whispers of Sajjad Zain al-Abidin, as he reminds us with simple but heartbreaking words, Ash-Sham, 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 Salli ala Muhammad wa alihi.
To be here and to commemorate a lady who, after having gone through so many trials and tribulations, whether her whole life is a big trial and tribulation, whether it's at the funeral of Fatima al-Zahra, whether it's at her father's funeral, whether it's at the funeral of her brother Imam al-Hassan, or the martyrdom of Abi Abdullah al-Hussein. Lady Zainab, she goes through so many trials and tribulations, yet when she is asked how she views Karbala in terms of what happened to her family, she responds by one statement. A statement that only the bravest, most pious, God-fearing, tawakkul ala Allah individuals can say. You see, When we go through trials and tribulations, very small trials, minuscule tribulations, we often forget Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you're a student, then you know you forget Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and you only remember Him when it's the time for your test. And if you're a student, some students procrastinate, they leave everything off to the last minute, and at the last minute, they raise their hands up for dua saying, Ya Allah, give us an A+. Let us pass this test. If you are more advanced in your life, then you might have had the loss of a loved one. Imagine yourself, however, in the position of Sayyida Zainab salamullah alayha. Recite a salawat, please. With one loss of one loved one, we lose everything. Whether it's a parent, a grandparent, an uncle, an aunt, a brother, we lose everything. We lose our minds, literally. Yet you put yourself in the position of Sayyida Zainab salamullah alayha. Lady Zainab, she's lost everything. Her brothers, her sons, she lost everything to the extent that when she returns to Medina, her husband cannot recognize her. Yet, when she is asked at the palace of Yazid, what do you view how do you view Karbala? And what happened to your family? She has one statement. And this statement is the statement of utmost faith and reliance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَمَا رَأَيْتُ إِلَّا جَمِيلًا. How can we actually try to understand this statement? After losing one loved one, we lose our minds. We go crazy. After losing one loved one, we say, why has this tragedy befallen us? Lady Zainab loses 18 brothers, her sons, her nephews. She loses all the Sahaba of Imam Hussein salamullah alayh. She goes through the trials of Sham-e Ghariba, and she says, وَمَا رَأَيْتُ إِلَّا جَمِيلًا. وَمَا رَأَيْتُ إِلَّا جَمِيلًا. This is the height of faith, the height of courage and stamina, the height, the epitome of serving Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Unbelievable. I close with this one short story. This past year we were blessed by having a scholar by the name of Ayatollah Sayyid Aqil al-Gharabi visit the States after a long time. In one of his lectures, when he is reciting the musibah of Sayyida Zainab, he says he was thinking about the statement of Imam al-Sajjad, in which the Imam says, my aunt Lady Zainab Salat al-Layl never became qada. Never became qada. Imagine yourself. What does this mean? On the pathways from Karbala to Kufa, Kufa to Sham, never became qada. Never became qada. Forget ordinary, regular, routine prayers. But I bring one point to light with regards to this statement, and I conclude with this. Her Salatul Layl never became qada, meaning on that night of Sham-e Ghariba, when the tents were being burned, when the veils were being stolen off the heads of the women, when Imam Ali came on that miraculous night of Sham-e Ghariba, Imam al-Sajjad's statement, my aunt Zainab's Salatul Layl never became qada, meaning that on the trials and tribulations, even with the trials and tribulations that she faced on the night of Sham-e Ghariba, she still offered Salatul Layl. Never became qada. Let our relationship to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be as true followers of Sayyida Zainab, so that we can say to her on the day of resurrection that when we said that your Salat al-Layl never became qada, We never forgot Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sadaqallahu al-aliyyul azim.
Very good speech.
مقام سید عالم بلند ہو کے رہا مقام سید عالم بلند ہو کے رہا یہ شور گریا و ماتم بلند ہو کے رہا جسے دبایا تھا وہ غم بلند ہو کے رہا خدا کے دین کا پرچم بلند ہو کے رہا جفا و ظلم کا لوہا پگھلنے والا ہے اور دیار شام سے سورج نکلنے والا ہے دیار شام سے سورج نکلنے والا ہے نہ تخت کو ہے سکون اور نہ تاج کو ہے قرار یزیدیت کو کہیں بھی نہیں ہے جائے قرار نہ کام آئیں گے خنجر نہ ظلم کی تلوار اٹھی ہے شام کی فوجوں سے العما کی پکار جلال حیدر کرار لے کے نکلے ہیں اسیر صبر کی تلوار لے کے نکلے ہیں اسیر صبر کی تلوار لے کے نکلے ہیں اور اندھیرے خوف تجلی سے تھر تھراتے ہیں حرم مدینے کو زنداں سے چھٹ کے جاتے ہیں چراغ اشکوں کے ہر موڑ پر جلاتے ہیں لرز رہے ہیں ستمگر پسینے آتے ہیں خراج فتح کا لیتا ہوا زمانے سے اٹھا ہے نور کا سیلاب قید خانے سے اٹھا ہے نور کا سیلاب قید خانے سے ملازم کیجیے بہن حسین کا انکار بن کے اٹھی ہے دعائے احمد مختار بن کے اٹھی ہے جو رک سکے نہ وہ تلوار بن کے اٹھی ہے علی کی بیٹی علمدار بن کے اٹھی ہے خدا کے دین کے پرچم کو دیکھ بھال لیا اور نہ بھائی تھا تو بہن نے علم سنبھال لیا نہ بھائی تھا تو بہن نے علم سنبھال لیا اور زمانہ دیکھ لے مجبور و بے وطن کا جہاد بغیر تیغ و سنا ایک خستہ تن کا جہاد نثار ایسی وغا پر شہ زمن کا جہاد کہو حسین سے دیکھیں ذرا بہن کا جہاد جہاں میں چشمہ آب حیات کھول دیا اور بندھا کے ہاتھ صداقت کا ہاتھ بندھا کے ہاتھ صداقت کا ہاتھ کھول دیا اور شراب ظلم ہے باقی نہ جام باقی ہے نہ تیغ ہے نہ جہاں میں حسام باقی ہے نہ کوفہ ہے نہ وہ دربار شام باقی ہے یزید مٹ گیا زینب کا نام باقی ہے اسیر ہو کے زمانے کے رخ کو موڑ دیا اور غرور ظلم کو قیدی بنا کے چھوڑ دیا غرور ظلم کو قیدی بنا کے چھوڑ دیا اکیلی تھی مگر کائنات لے کے چلی پیام روزہ و حج و زکات لے کے چلی غم حسین کا سرمایہ ساتھ لے کے چلی اجل کی بزم سے زینب حیات لے کے چلی خدا کے دین کے جادے اسیر ہو نہ سکے اور گلا بندھا تھا ارادے اسیر ہو نہ سکے گلا بندھا تھا ارادے اسیر ہو نہ سکے چلی وطن کو جو چھوٹ کر بطول کی دختر پکارتی تھی کہ بھیا اکیلی ہے خواہر کہاں ہو محمد اٹھو علی اکبر بٹھائے کون مجھے ہائے اب ہماری پر بہن کو کرنی ہے فریاد اپنے بھائی سے اور کوئی پکار لے عباس کو ترائی سے ہے نیل بازو پہ میرے چھپاؤں گی کیسے وطن میں حال مصیبت سناؤں گی کیسے कलाई जख्मी है अब तक दिखाऊंगी कैसे, बहन हुसैन की हूँ ये बताऊंगी कैसे। जो मुझसे पूछेगी सुगरा किधर गए बाबा, कहूंगी हाय ये कैसे कि मर गए बाबा। बताऊं कैसे मैं किस किस को खो के आई हूँ, पले थे गोद में जो उनको रो के आई हूँ। भंवर में अपना सफीना डुबो के आई हूँ, दयार गैर में पर्दा हो के आई हूँ। पुकारे कह के गरीब और बेवतन मुझको, न कहे कोई अब्बास की बहन मुझको।
Brothers and sisters,
Walaikum assalam.
it is an honor for us to be here, and it's a blessing, an honor for me to talk about Hazrat Janab Zainab alayhi salam. I am just an admirer of Hazrat Zainab alayhi salam, and no matter what I will say or what I talk about or anybody else will be far away from any of the truth about that magnificent personality. Hazrat Zainab alayhi salam is a multi-personality. She represents Ahlul Bayt in her different phase of life. She represents women with all the courage and defiance and piety. She represents courage and defiance of. She represents humanity in opposing oppression. So really, I look at this personality with multiple aspect and multi-phase. I'm sorry, my description going to be as a humble layman. I'm not going to be the level of the our speakers, the knowledgeable and scholars. But please accept me from me these words. And I'm going to be very short, so I don't take too much time. But going through the phase of the different journey of Karbala, you could understand some of these characteristics of Hazrat Zainab. As brother said already, from the beginning of the journey, when she asked her husband to allow her to join Imam Hussein on his journey, in spite of her knowledge about the prospect and the conclusion of this journey, and taken with her two sons, Abdullah and and again through all the journey from Medina to Karbala with the support of her brother, Sayyid Shuhada. And in Karbala itself, during all the events of the battle itself, standing beside her brothers, encouraging him. And then the aftermath, which is, as the brother said, her light started to shine as the light of Imam Hussein started to fade, but not fading. As she played the role of the leader to the remains of Ahlul Bayt and to the situation she was in, the night of Sham-e-Zaidan, the worst night. To the extent that a little story about her role, it gives you a shade of what she played. When the captives were taken to Kufa, they deliberately, of course, took them through the slave warriors, slave martyrs, and when Imam Sajjad alayhi salam passing through that, he was already very sick, hardly able to survive. When he saw the body of Imam Hussein mutilated and covered with dust, he almost lost his life and fell down when he heard the voice of Zainab alayhi salam. Ali, don't lose it. You have the responsibility to carry on. And imagine that courage and that braveness to encourage even the Imam itself. And then I'll go through her braveness at the palace of Ibn Ziyad, and how, as a woman, nobody else could play that role to protect Imam Sajjad. When Ibn Ziyad wanted to sentence Imam Sajjad alayhi salam to death, she threw herself on the Imam, and I could see that Ibn Ziyad could see the courage and defiance in her eye, and he was surprised and could not go through it. If it wasn't Sayyidah Zainab, we would not have the Islam we had, whether Sunni or Shia. If it wasn't Sayyidah Zainab alayhi salam, Imam Sajjad would not survive. It is the role she played as a woman. And when she arrived to Kufa, of course, the media of that time portrayed the situation as Khawarij, and some of the people trying to rejoice the occasion and celebrating, until Sayyidah Zainab started to talk. And her sermons in Kufa made that joyous moment the worst moment of sadness and tear shedding in Kufa. And it was the beginning of the revolution against the oppressor. It was her eloquence. It was the character of Imam Ali alayhi salam. She has the eloquence of Imam Ali. She has the patience of Sayyidah Fatima Zahra alayhi salam. She has the courage of Imam Hussein. She is multi-personality. If you look at it in that, it's not only the Muslim admire her, even the Christian, even the non-Muslim people admire her personality. She is a personality deserved the look. And the final moment, as the brother said, in the majlis of Yazid, when she defied Yazid and changed the moment of victory into a moment of loss, and a threat to him with the punishment of Allah for every oppressor, no matter how arrogant he is. And you could see that courage at the moment when one of Yazid's soldiers wanted Fatima bint Hussein alayhi salam to be for him, and she stood up like a lioness and said, "Not for you." And when Yazid intervened, that decision is his, he said, "Not for you either. This is the decision of Allah. We are Ahlul Bayt." She put him at the spot like a giant. Brothers and sisters, I think Sayyidah Zainab is a personality deserved the study and the look at and learning from with all aspect as a humanity and as a Ahlul Bayt. Thank you very much. Wassalamu alaikum.
قال الله تبارك وتعالى في كتابه المبين وهو أصدق الصادقين بقوله الحق وبشر الصابرين الذين إذا أصابتهم مصيبة قالوا إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. फैज़ान मोहतरम, काबिल मुबारकबाद हैं वो तमाम हजरात के जो योम ज़ैनब का इनेकाद करते हैं। करबला की इस पूरी फहरिस्त में चाहे वो शहदा हुए हैं या जो असीर हुए हैं या जो भी लोग हैं, ان سب میں ہم تک جو امام حسین علیہ السلام کے حالات، واقعات، کربلا کے حالات جس شخصیت نے اپنے بلبوتے پر پہنچایا، اس شخصیت کا نام جناب زینب ہے. صرف جناب زینب کی وہ حیثیت تھی، وہ شخصیت تھی کہ جنہوں نے ہر بات پوری قوم کے سامنے بتائی کہ کیسے کون سے واقعات ہوئے، اور جگہ جگہ بتاتی رہی کہ امام حسین علیہ السلام کے ساتھ کیا ہوا، فلاں کے ساتھ میں کیا ہوا. یہ ساری جو ترتیب ہمارے سامنے آئی ہے یہ صدقہ ہے جناب زینب کا. اگر وہ بیوی نہ ہوتی کربلا میں تو ہم اندھیرے میں بھٹک رہے ہوتے، ہمیں نہ پتہ چلتا کہ خیمے کے اندر کیا ہوا اور نہ پتہ چلتا خیمے کے باہر کیا ہوا. اور یہ اس لیے میں کہہ رہا ہوں، یاد رکھیے آپ کی جناب زینب کا ہی کمال ہے کہ شب عاشور اپنے بھائی سے یہ پوچھنا کہ بھیا آپ نے اپنے دوستوں کو آزما لیا. کیا مطلب ہے؟ کیا مطلب؟ کیا جناب زینب کو میدان میں جانا تھا؟ نہیں. اب بتانا یہ تھا کہ جناب زینب اس قدر حساس ہیں کہ انہیں اس بات کی فکر ہے کہ ایسا نہ ہو کہ بھائی حسن اور بھائی اور بابا علی کی طرح سے صحابی چھوڑ کے چلے جائیں. لہٰذا پہلے بھیا سے پوچھے بھیا آپ نے آزما لیا؟ امام حسین صاحب نے کہا ہاں بہن ہم نے بالکل آزما لیا. تو عزیزان گرامی سوچیے آپ جناب زینب کی شخصیت، کوئی ہمت نہیں، کسی کے اندر جرت نہیں ہے کہ جناب زینب کی شخصیت کے ہلکے سے گوشے پر بھی روشنی ڈال سکے. اس لیے کہ ایک عورت ہے، لیکن وہ عورت جب باہر نکلتی ہے تو اس کے اندر جو جوش اور جو جذبہ ہے اور جو طاقت ہے، وہ طاقت عورتوں میں نہیں آ سکتی. وہ تو طاقت عورتوں میں تب آتی ہے جب اس کی ساتھ ایک فوج ہوتی ہے، جتنی ہمارے یہاں ہوئی ہیں لکشمی بائی ہو فلاں بائی ہو فلاں، ان کے پاس ایک طاقت کے طور کے اوپر آدمی تھے، لوگ تھے، اسلحے تھے، تیر و تبر تھے. جناب زینب کے ساتھ ایسا کچھ بھی نہیں. اس کے باوجود وہ عورت اتنی زبردست کامیابی حاصل کرے کہ یزید کے دربار میں بابا کے دوہل اعلان کر دے کہ نہیں ہم حق پر ہیں، تم حق پر نہیں، تم غاصب. بہت بڑی بات ہے کہنا. کسی کی ضرورت ہو سکتی ہے کہ بادشاہ کے سامنے جو بیٹھا ہوا ہے اور جس کے ہاتھ میں ساری طاقتیں ہیں، ایک لمحے کے لیے وہ غافل بھی نہیں، اور اس کے سامنے اس کو للکار دینا. یا آپ سوچیے کوفے کے بازار کے اندر اس کی مجال ہے، کون عورت ایسی ہوگی جو اتنے بڑے بازار میں ہمارے ساتھ سے کہنا کہ ان کو خاموش کرا دو، ہمیں کچھ کہنا ہے. اس نے کہا ہم کیسے خاموش کرا دیں گے؟ یہ گھوڑوں کی ٹاپوں کی آوازیں، یہ اونٹوں کے گھنگروں کی آوازیں، یا لوگوں کا ازدحام. بس شہزادی نے جیسے کہا رک جاؤ ہم خاموش کراتے ہیں. نے سوچیے اب دو گھٹنے رکھ کے اونٹ کے اوپر کھڑی ہوئی، بیٹھی اس کے اوپر، اور ایک دفعہ اشارہ کیا. تاریخ نے لکھا کہ سناٹا، اتنا سناٹا ہو گیا کہ شہزادی کی آواز اس کوفے میں رہنے والے ایک نابینا مولائے کائنات کے صحابی کے کان تک پہنچی، اور وہ آیا دیکھنے کے لیے یہ کیا علی آ گئے، قیامت آ گئی جو علی کی آواز سنائی دیتی. مطلب یہ ہے کہ جناب زینب کے اندر وہ طاقت ہے. قسم خدا کی کہ کوئی کیسی بیان کیسے کیا جائے کہ یہ کون سی ہو خاتون. یاد رکھیے جناب سیدہ بڑی مارکت لا رہے ہیں، لیکن ساتھ میں معصومہ بھی تو ہیں، اور یہ غیر معصوم اور معصوم کے درمیان کی جو چیز ہے سمجھ پانا بہت مشکل کام ہے. صرف یہ کہا جا سکتا ہے کہ چونکہ جناب زینب نے بچپن سے ان تمام حالات کا مشاہدہ کیا کہ ابا کے نانا کا انتقال ہوا، انہوں نے دیکھا کہ ہاں کیسا رویہ کائنات نے اپنایا ان کے ساتھ میں. ماں کے ساتھ میں دربار میں گئی ہیں، وہاں پہ انہوں نے دیکھا کہ ماں کے ساتھ کیسا برتاؤ ہوا، اب بابا کے ساتھ کیسا برتاؤ ہوا، بھیا حسن کے ساتھ، اور ان سب کا نچوڑ کربلا کی جنگ آ گئی. اب کربلا کی جنگ میں جو نفسیاتی پہلو ہیں ان کو جب ہم دیکھتے ہیں تو ہمیں ایسا لگتا ہے کہ جناب زینب اس قدر ایسی خاتون کائنات میں نظر نہیں آئی. اپنے بچے سگے بیٹا شہید ہوا. آپ نے دیکھا ہوگا شام کے بعد دربار میں جس وقت یہ لوگ آزاد ہوئے ہیں اور وہ سرحائے شہداء لائے گئے ہیں تو شام کی عورتوں کو مجبوراً یہ کہنا پڑا کیا ان دو بچوں کی ماں مر گئی؟ تو جناب زینب نے کہا نہیں مرے نہیں ہیں زندہ ہیں، لیکن اپنے بھائی کو روئیں گے، بچوں پر کو نہیں روئیں گے. سوچی کمال کی بات ہے، اپنے بیٹوں پر گریہ نہ کرنا اور سب کے سامنے کہنا نہیں ہمارا بھائی زیادہ امپورٹنٹ ہے ہمارے لیے. کیوں؟ اس لیے کہ بھائی کی وجہ سے اسلام بچا ہے. بھائی نہ ہوتا تو کوئی کام ہی نہ ہو پاتا، لہٰذا بھائی کو رونا ضروری ہے. بہت بڑی بات ہے عزیزان گرامی. آپ سوچیے کون ماں ایسی ہوگی جو اپنے بچے کو شہید ہونے کے بعد سجدہ شکر ادا کرے، رات بھر سمجھاتی رہے کہ تم بہت بڑے دادا کے پوتے ہو، تم بہت بڑے نانا کے نواسے ہو، تمہیں سب سے پہلے جانا ہوگا میدان. ایسی خاتون اور اتنا پاس و لحاظ ہے امامت کا. آپ کیا سمجھتے ہیں کہ جناب زینب اگر خود سے نکالا تھی خیمے سے باہر آگ لگنے کے بعد تو کیا کوئی اعتراض کا پہلو تھا؟ ایسے حالات میں کیا ہوتا ہے क्या औरत को घर से नहीं निकलना चाहिए था? क्या अपनी जान को हिलाकर, क्या जनाब ज़ैनब आलिमा गैर मौलिमा नहीं है कि उनका फैसला होता तो किसी को एतराज का हक था? नहीं था। लेकिन उसके बावजूद अपने बीमार भतीजे को जगा कर पूछना और ये दुनिया को बताना कि देखो इमाम वक्त की क्या हैसियत होती है। ये बेटा, ये सैयदा सज्जाद बताओ कि हम यहाँ पे जल के मर जाए या बाहर? क्या जनाब ज़ैनब ये फतवा नहीं जानती है, ये मसला नहीं जानती है कि नहीं हलाकत से बचना है? लेकिन बताना मकसद है कि भतीजा जो है इसके बीमार में समझे इमाम वक्त है, ये बचाया गया है मसलहत के तहत, ये इत्तेफाकी हादसा नहीं है इसका बचना, किसको बचा है? और उससे पूछ के बता रहे कि नहीं मसला पूछना होगा चाहे जितने बड़े तुम आलिम हो जाओ, लेकिन अगर इमाम वक्त है तो मसला वही बताने का हक होता है, तुम्हें कहने का हक नहीं। और फिर लेके आना, इमामत को बचा के खेमे से निकालना। और अभी ने तो बयान किया कि बार बार जा रही है, परेशान होकर वापस आ रही है, क्या बात, कोई कीमती सामान रह गया, सोना चांदी जवाहरात? नहीं, ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं, हमारा भतीजा अंदर है। अल्लाह अकबर। फिर कहता है कि हमने देखा कि अपने पुष्ट के ऊपर और जनाब सैयदा सज्जाद के बचा लाई। जाने ग्रामी, आप सोचिए कि जनाब ज़ैनब का कैरेक्टर कैसा कैरेक्टर है। और हमें तो फख्र होना चाहिए इस बात पर, हमारी माँ बहनों को फख्र होना चाहिए कि जब सारी कायनात हमसे मुखालिफ हो जाती है तो हमारी निगाह सिर्फ जनाब ज़ैनब की तरफ जाती है कि इस औरत को के किरदार को अगर अपना लिया जाए तो हमें किसी से कोई खौफ नहीं है, कोई डर नहीं है, कोई परेशानी नहीं, कोई परवाह नहीं। जनाब ज़ैनब ने ऐसे परागंदा माहौल में इस तरह से इस्लाम के अलम को सरबलंद कर दिया और कयामत तक के लिए। आप सोचें जरा सा कि अगर आज़ादी मिल गई होती साल भर बाद, हम होते, कोई भी दुनिया का आदमी होता, कोई भी औरत होती, इन हालात में आज़ादी मिलने के बाद उसका पहला स्टेप ये होता कि वो सीधे यहाँ से जाएगी करबला। जनाब ज़ैनब ने कहा नहीं, सीधे नहीं जाना होगा, अभी तो एक हफ्ता रुकेंगे, कातिल के घर में मकतूल का मातम करके बताएंगे कि हमारा नाम ज़ैनब, हम अली की बेटी। बहुत बड़ी बात है कि उससे ये कहना कि नहीं बेटा, उनसे कह दो कि हमारे लिए एक मकान खाली करा दे। क्यों? अभी तो पुरसा नहीं दे पाए, अभी ये मजलिस अदा क्या है जाने ग्रामी, ये तो जनाब ज़ैनब की देन है, इमाम हुसैन इस्लाम की देन नहीं है, किसी और इमाम की देन नहीं, ये जनाब ज़ैनब की देन है, ये फर्श अदा जिसकी वजह से आज हम इज्जतदार बने हुए हैं। और ना हमारी क्या इज्जत, इस फर्श अदा ने इज्जत दी हमको। जो आपके पास एजुकेशन है और जो मर्तबे हैं और जो मकामात है, कुछ नहीं, जीरो। अगर ये फर्श अदा हमें इज्जत ना अता करती, हम अज़ादार हुसैन हैं, ये हमारा सबसे बड़ा मर्तबा है। और इंशाल्लाह ये मर्तबा हमें यहाँ भी इज्जत देता है और वहाँ भी इज्जत देगा जहाँ पे हमको जाना है। सोचिए आप जरा से, जनाब ज़ैनब हमें शुक्र अदा करना चाहिए उस बीबी का कि बीबी अगर आप न होती तो आज हम गुमराह हो चुके होते। आपने हमें गुमराही से बचा लिया है और एक ऐसा रास्ता दिखला दिया कि चाहे जितना बहादुर बादशाह हो, चाहे जितना शरीर बादशाह हो, कभी जबान से हक के अलावा नाहक नहीं करना चाहिए। और अगर हमने हक कह दिया है तो बस यही हमारी जीत है, हमारी कामयाबी है। इन्हीं अल्फाज के साथ आपसे दुआएं चाहता हूँ और इंशाअल्लाह अगले
Brothers and sisters who don't speak Urdu, we don't have time for translation. MashaAllah, very beautiful delivery by Maulana. It's Assalamu alaikum.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل
Muhammad.
Dr. Hussein Mahana is our next speaker. Brother hails from Lebanon. MashaAllah. Which is the land of Levant, I understand. So,
العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
السلام عليك سيدي ومولاي يا أبا عبد الله الحسين وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك وأناخت برحلك. السلام عليك سيدي ومولاي يا حجة الله في الأراضين. Respected scholars, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. If you want to visit the Mawla, Imam Hussein, leave all your troubles, all your problems behind, clear up your minds, open up your hearts, and let's visit Imam Hussein alayhi salam. May Allah grant us all the ziyarah of Imam Hussein over there in Karbala. They say when you get there to Karbala, your eyes are immediately attracted to the majesty of the scene, the beauty of the two shrines there. Your heart feels the glory of the place, the wonderful architecture, the glittering gold that seeks nearness to Hussein bedazzles your eyes. Your mind gets lost when you smell the scent of heaven occupying the air. They say the first person to perform the ziyarah was none other but Jabir bin Abdullah al-Ansari, the great companion of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The narration says that when Jabir entered Karbala, he performed ghusl at the bank of the river Euphrates and wore the best of his clothes. Then he spread perfume over his body. Thereafter, he did not take a step save in the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala until he neared the grave of Imam Hussein. Then he said to his companion, because he was blind, "Make me touch the grave." Then he fell over the grave unconscious. Then he cried 3 times, "Ya Hussein." Then he said, addressing Imam Hussein alayhi salam, "Why is the beloved not responding to the call of the lover? But how can you respond while your veins have been severed and your body has been separated from your head?" That was Jabir in his ziyarah to Imam Hussein alayhi salam. So they say it was him who performed the first ziyarah. I apologize to Jabir, but I tend to believe otherwise. I believe that someone else preceded him. And it wasn't a man. It was a lady. Can you guess who she was? I'm going to help you. Let me give you some hints. When she performed ziyarah, Jabir made ghusl with the water of the river Euphrates. But this lady, when she performed ghusl, her ghusl was with the dust of the desert instead of the water of the river. And her clothes, the clothes that she was wearing, were ripped the day before as she witnessed Shimr, la'natullah alayhi, step on the chest of her brother. Her perfume was from the smoke of the burning tents. And instead of standing in front of the grave, she was riding a camel, passing across the battlefield between the butchered, blood-soaked bodies of the martyrs. And with every step, she shed a pearl from her eyes, hoping it would fall over a slain throat and quench its thirst. And if you listen carefully, with your hearts, you would hear her say with a faint voice coming from her battered heart, "Peace be upon the hair dyed with blood. Peace be upon the looted body. Before we leave, we recite the ziyarah of Ashura. Peace be upon the looted body." The morning of the 11th day has revealed its decision. Shimr is now the caravan leader, and we are the prisoners. As the caravan of the distressed started moving, the caravan leader decided to take us to the battlefield. We saw the bodies of our protectors scattered on the scorching sand of the desert. We recited ziyarah from on top the camels. Peace be upon all the companions of Hussein. Peace be upon Habib, their leader. Peace be upon all the slaughtered necks. Peace be upon the looted body. Then Zainab said, "Oh Ramla, there is Qasim, don't you see? Take it easy, O Ramla, when you lament. Take it easy. I fear that you might fall off the camel when you're weeping, as your heart realizes that you're leaving without Qasim. Don't dream of his wedding anymore. Don't dream of his wedding anymore. And take enough of looking at him. Don't blink. Peace be upon that whose traits are beautiful. Peace be upon his eyes and his beauty. Peace be upon him, and my heart is on fire. Peace be upon the looted body." Then she looked at Layla and said, "Oh Layla, this is Ali al-Akbar's body. How different he looks now. How different he looks now. But I still recognized him. A youth whose flower withered from thirst. May all his sisters and his aunt be sacrificed for him. Oh, Layla, my heart broke when I hugged him before he left. Before he got slaughtered, I kissed him in his neck. Peace be upon that solemnity. Peace be upon the flower of his youth. Peace be upon him, and my heart is on fire. Peace be upon the looted body. Let the daughters of Hussein come near me, and let's see how their father looks now. Oh, Sukaina, oh, Ruqayya, his chest bones, his ribs were crushed, and even his fingers were amputated. They took away his clothes as well. Did he know about those who were taken captives? Peace be upon his liver that was cut to pieces. Peace be upon his body that was torn apart. I recite ziyarah as my tears sprinkle. Peace be upon the looted body. Come, let's count how many thousand sword hits and how many hoofs made a hole in his body. The mark of Shimmer's foot is still on his chest. Soil and blood pooled over his neck. Oh, Sukaina, your father's condition baffled me. Oh, niece, his back can be seen through his chest. His back can be seen through his chest. Peace be upon the 9 fingers. Peace be upon the lost pinky. I recited ziyarah for his cut off finger. Peace be upon the looted body. There's one more scene, but nobody look. It's the baby, Abdullah Ali al-Asghar, there with his legs stretched. How or who can show mercy and cover him? Rabab, his mom, started talking to him from on top the camel. Please don't put his head on a spear like everyone else. But if you have to, raise it on a small arrow instead, and we'll take care of it. Peace be upon your slaughtered neck. Peace be upon your wounded heart. Peace of God and the Huris. Peace be upon the looted body. And now, one final ziyarah, a distant one. Now turn your eyes towards the river, and let's see how our guardian Abbas looks like. I want to sit next to him, but they won't let me. I have a talk with Abbas, and I wanted to ask him about his excuses. Why did he leave us here? Why did he not come back? He promised. But I'm afraid that they could hear me. I want to ask. It's not the nature of a guardian, of a protector, to leave the woman crying and go to sleep. Peace be upon your tall stature, O Abbas. Peace be upon your veins, your hands, your eyes, your head. Peace be upon you, and you're excused. Peace be upon the looted body. Assalamu ala al-Husayn wa ala Ali ibn al-Husayn wa ala awlad al-Husayn wa ala ashab al-Husayn. Assalamu alaikum shuhada Karbala jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Assalamu alaikum.
Brothers and sisters, we are, mashallah, coming to some sort of finality in this program. But it will be not only disrespectful, it will be dishonest for me not to mention a name, and that is Dr. Sayyid Manzoor Naqi Razvi, whom I have known for the last 42, 43 years, more than that. And I have been watching him since then. as a young man, and as at this time as we grow older together. Dr. Rizvi was one of the head of that pioneer generation which founded the Azadari in North America. He was there when we were not. There was nothing here in North America. I'm talking about entire North America. Azadari Mu'mineen started here in New York and New Jersey and expanded to all the cities that you see now. He single-handedly engineered many projects. Bayam Aman was his baby, MFI, and then working in the Khorasan, and then he kept striving to make sure that these mission of Ahl Bayt gets completed. He coordinated his work with this piece and how appropriate the life history of Hazrat Zainab Zahra alayhi salam. We recommend very strongly, even though it's in Urdu, that it be read. Masterful work by Dr. Rizvi, and we have been blessed with having a man like him in the community who has really been an example for a lot of us and a lot of the generations to come. I asked Dr. Manzoor Rizvi to please offer his salam and tribute to Bibi Zainab.
Yazid of this time, Saddam Hussein said, when he was killing Bintul Huda, that I will not do that mistake which Yazid did and not killing the sister of Imam Hussein. And it is so true. There was a message for last 124,000 people, prophets, delivered a speech, a message for the oneness of the God, the presence of the God. And Imam Hussein gave his life to save that and to save that message. And Janab Zainab gave his life. It is because of her that the message of Imam Hussein was saved. Yeah. And one thing, he has said that there was a conference in, what was the place? The conference that where they decided that the Wahhabis are the culprit. And the same guy who was the vice chancellor of Al-Azhar goes there and declares, of course we don't need their declaration, but declares that the Shia are the one of the real Islamic section. And that time also. This is the reiteration of the same thing that Sheikh Shaltut, Professor, did 1952, the same thing. But we don't need their thing. Our problem, the problem at this time and for all the time has been two. The Salafis, Wahhabis, in their presence, and our problem is that we are not united. Once for Allah, if one time we cannot united, we will change the whole world. Probably we'll have to wait for the Imam. Chand sher hain. Azmat-e Rawza-e Hazrat Zainab. Rawza-e Hazrat Zainab ki ajab shaan mili. Rawza-e हजरत ज़ैनब की अजब शान मिली, मंजिले अज़मत इंसान की पहचान मिली, महवरे सिद्क़ सफ़ा क़ुव्वत ईमान मिली, और साहिब क़ब्र बड़ी साहिब इरफ़ान मिली। साहिब क़ब्र बड़ी साहिब इरफ़ान मिली। गुलशने दीन में इस फूल से शादाबी है, ये तो शहज़ादी कौनैन की शहज़ादी है। गुलशने दीन में इस फूल से शादाबी है, ये तो शहज़ादी कौनैन की शहज़ादी है। राहते क़ल्ब नबी शाह मदीना है मज़ार, और तमन्नाए अली इल्म का जीना है मज़ार। सुरखरू जिससे हसन हो वो करीना है मज़ार, और करबला को जो बचा ले वो सफ़ीना है मज़ार। करबला को जो बचा ले वो सफ़ीना है मज़ार, और ताज सर पर ये तक़द्दुस का सजा देती है। ताज सर पर ये तक़द्दुस का सजा देती है, और अपने दायर को ये मेराज दिला देती है। ताज सर पर ये तक़द्दुस का सजा देती है, और अपने ज़ाहिर को ये मेराज दिला देती है। दीदावर आते हैं इस ये जगह ऐसी है। دیدور آتے ہیں اس جا یہ جگہ ایسی ہے اور مردہ ہو جاتے ہیں زندہ یہ جگہ ایسی ہے شام میں کر دے سویرا یہ جگہ ایسی ہے اور خود نمازیں کریں سجدہ یہ جگہ ایسی ہے خود نمازیں کریں سجدہ یہ جگہ ایسی ہے اور خاک اس در کی جو لگ جاتی ہے پیشانی پر فخر کرتی ہے سلیمان کی سلطانی پر خاص عزت در کی جو لگ جاتی ہے پیشانی پر فخر کرتی ہے سلیمان کی سلطانی پر اور آخر تو بندر ہیں کہ روضہ زینب اولیاء کو مٹانے والوں روضہ زینب اولیاء کو مٹانے والے مستقل قلب محمد کو دکھانے والوں لب منحوس سے تکبیر لگانے والوں لب منحوس سے تقدیر لگانے والوں اے امیہ کے طرفدار زمانے والوں کر کے برباد بقیہ کو رخ شام کیا کر کے برباد بقیہ کو رخ شام کیا خود تو بدبخت تھے اسلام کو بدنام کیا روضہ زینب اولیاء کو مٹانے والوں مستقل قلب محمد کو دکھانے والوں لب منحوس سے تکبیر لگانے والوں اے امیہ کے طرفدار زمانے والوں کر کے برباد بقیہ کو رخ شام کیا خود تو بدبخت تھے اسلام کو بدنام کیا آخری بندر ہے کہ جانے کرتے ہو کس امید پہ یہ کام انجام جانے کرتے ہو کس امید پہ یہ کام انجام کیا سعودیہ سے ملنے کو ہے کوئی انعام جارڈن یا کہ قطر جن کے جہنم ہے مقام دین ہے ان کا الگ دوسرا ان کا اسلام دین ہے ان کا الگ دوسرا ان کا اسلام ان کی تو شکل بھی شیطان نے خود ڈھالی ہے اور آج القاعدہ تو سب سے بڑی گالی ہے جانے کرتے ہو کس امید پہ یہ کام انجام کیا سعودیہ سے ملنے کو ہے کوئی انعام جارڈن یا کہ قطر جن کے جہنم ہے مقام اور دین ہے ان کا الگ دوسرا ان کا اسلام ان کی تو شکل بھی شیطان نے خود ڈھالی ہے اور آج القاعدہ تو سب سے بڑی
What I struggle with every day as a blogger to write in prose so effortlessly. Mazur Bhai have done such a marvelous job in poetry about these shaitans, Al-Qaeda, Jabhat al-Nusra, Ahrar al-Sham, and so on, Daesh, and so on and so forth. The unity is very important, brothers and sisters, and inshallah we get the unity and we will face this thing. Salawat, please. Long before Sayyid Aman Naqshbani, Hassan Rajab Ali, and Sayyid Mahdi Mudarrisi, and young men and women like them became household words and came on the scene of Azadari. There was a man amongst us in our midst who spoke the language of the country, doing Rome as Romans do, and his name is Sayyid Mohsin Naqvi. Mohsin Bhai arrived rather late in the 80s. We were here before, but he made up for his lateness by excelling, mashallah, in this endeavor of getting the message across to the young generation. Our children who had been just finished with the high school, who are in the high school and did not really quite understand the Urdu Majalis. Mohsin Naqvi was there, whether it was ZAINABIA, whether it was old MFI, it was a small FMI, or it was Aslan-e-Zahra, Al-Hui Center, Masumini School, and so on and so forth. His service was unparalleled at that time, brothers and sisters. He filled that vacuum, and we are very grateful for his contribution. He authored a few books, mashallah, and now is our resident scholar. I do consult him every time I get into difficulty when I'm writing some of the things on Islam or the politics of Islam and aspects of Islam and Muslims in North America. So we welcome you. You get 15 minutes, Mohsin Bhai.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. As-salatu was-salamu ala nabiyyil ummi. Abil Qasim Muhammad. Wa ahli baytihi at-tayyibin at-tahirin al-ma'sumin. Salawat. Brother Nawab Agha called me 3 days ago after several years with this message that you have to come. You have not been here for years and you have to speak. So, and speak about Janab Zainab on Zainab Day. And I said, definitely, I will come. And now I've got so much material for you that I do not know what to give you and what to stop. So, my presentation is going to be in fragments. I'll give you information for you to reflect and mull over it. And maybe, I'm on the internet. You can discuss it. I am open to all kinds of discussion. And I want to tell you this year, particularly, I don't know why, there is so much anti-propaganda against Shia and against Azadari. There is so much. And I write day and night addressing many things. So I look at our problem two-phase. We have to maintain the entire mechanism for Azadari for our own coming generations. And we have to make inroads into the academic world with the presentation of Karbala and Imam Hussein at that level. And I am pleased to say that the British lived in India for 200 years and they got involved into the culture and language and they looked at Karbala. But whatever they wrote, if you read it, I'm sure you read it, mostly it looks like bemused curiosity. They never went into the depth of the passion of Karbala. But now that Americans are looking at it, and we are living in America, and we have brought the Azadari with us, American academics are looking at it with a totally different perspective. They have really gone into the depth of the passion of Karbala. And now works are coming through. And we have to be aware of what is available. And we should encourage our young men and women to get hold of those books and try to read them with passion and with interest, great interest. Find anything in it, write back to the publisher, to the author. Nobody's stopping you from you contact anyone. You can contact anyone, and I have been doing it. So I'll give you names. As far as Janab Zainab is concerned, we have seen a change in our own perspective, our community. If I remember my childhood from India and then Pakistan, Janab Zainab is shown as a weak woman crying and lamenting and calling on her father and grandfather and mother. But in my youth, starting with Rashid Turabi, the perspective of Majlis changed, and Zainab was being presented as the leader of Karbala, the woman who brought Azadari to us, and that is true. So there is a change in perspective, and now we have to bring this new perspective, and I am pleased to say that there is a lot of work that is being done. Now, we know that Janab Zainab's shrine is in Damascus or outside of Damascus, but there is also another shrine dedicated to Janab Zainab, and that's in the center of Cairo. In Egypt, Janab Zainab is known as Hashim. So the shrine that is in the center of Cairo is known as Hashim's shrine, and there is a legend, and I'll give you the source of this legend. There is a legend in Egypt that around Muharram and close to Ashura, farmers from villages come for ziyarat. And they have a legend that if on the 15th of Shaban it is raining in the darkness of night, they said that the brother is going to meet the sister. This is a legend. And it's written in books. It is known in Egypt. So the works that have appeared, I want to share those works with you. The first work is The Pure and Powerful. This is a book written by a woman. Her name is Nadia Abu Zera. She is Egyptian. She is the daughter of Professor Abu Zera, who was one of the greatest legists in Egypt. And he was professor of law at University of Cairo. She has a PhD in anthropology. She lives in Oxford, England. So she left Egypt very early on during her childhood, and she lived in England all this time. And when her mother was nearly dying, her sisters wrote back to her that you have to come and meet your mother before she dies. So she goes to Egypt and she decides to spend that about 3-4 months at the shrine of Hashim. And she writes her experience and observations, and that is that book, The Pure and Powerful. It's a remarkable book. She argues the case that the real shrine of ZAINAB is in Cairo, and the shrine in Damascus is that of the younger Zainab, that is Kulsum. That is her theory. We go to Damascus with the niyat that we are going to meet ZAINAB at that shrine. But that is what she is saying in her book. So that's one book. I urge all our young men and women to read that book. Keep it in your collection. That's one book. The second book is An Enchanted Modern. This is an American woman who grew up in Staten Island, and she became a professor of anthropology, and she went to Lebanon, and she started looking at Hezbollah, and she found out that Hezbollah is just not men, they're also women who are working behind the scenes, and they're running hospitals, they have a radio station. Now, because she is a woman, she had no problem in going inside the homes. So she meets families, and the primary question she poses to these women, that where did you get this leadership quality? Women in Islam are supposed to be subdued under parda, hijab. And invariably she gets the answer that our leader is Zainab. It is from Zainab that we have got this leadership. Great book. I urge you all to look at this book, An Enchanted Modern. Her name is Laura Deep. The third person in this line, he is a professor at Santa Clara University. His name is David Pinault. Remarkable man. You know, Shaukat, you don't have to apologize for Urdu poetry in Karbala. I am proud of it. Even though I have been one of the prime promoters of English speeches here, but don't mistake the fact that Urdu and Azadari have a very, very close relationship. Because in India, they grew together. Azadari and Urdu grew together. The first poetry that was written in Urdu was on Karbala, Qul Qutub Shah. But that's a different subject. So, this man, he is an avowed Christian. He writes in his books and he says in his lecture, I am a Christian. But he teaches Shia Islam at Santa Clara University. Now all those Wahhabi students mostly from Pakistan are on his case. Why are you teaching Shia Islam? Why don't you teach other Islam? He said, because I like it. I want to teach it. He's a very committed man. So he went to Kashmir of both India and Pakistan, and he spent the Muharram there. I did not know this before I read his book, that in Kashmir there are always 2 Muharrams every year. Because frequently Muharram comes in Kashmir when it is snowing or raining and it's cold. So they say the Muharram was in the middle of the summer. You know, they were dying of thirst. So they do a second Muharram during the summer to make it a real experience. I did not know this. He told me, his books told me. So he got so involved that he learned Urdu to read the Karbala poetry in Urdu. Now he's an American, white American. So he writes in his book this experience of his that he found out Mustafa Zaid's poetry. Mustafa Zaidi is a shair of Nazm and Ghazal. He has nothing to do with Karbala. But if you pick up his collection, the last poem in his book is Karbala. That's the title. Now, I am being told that most of that poetry is lost for some reason. And there are only 10 or 12 lines left of that poetry. And the last line of that poem is, O no Muhammad, chote chote haath phailaye hue. This is the Janab Zainab's two sons. Now, he hired a Pakistani student in the university, and he said, I'm going to translate this Urdu poetry, and you tell me whether I'm doing it right or not. So they would sit in the park or in the room, and he will read his translation of English, and the Pakistani student will say, yes, go ahead, it's fine. So when he was translating this poem, he tells us that when he went to the last line, Muhammad chote chote haath phailaye hue, they were sitting on a bench in the park. The students and teachers were coming past, and these two men are sitting there, Professor Pinault and his Urdu teacher, and he is reading this, and when he reaches the last line, the Pakistani student teacher starts crying and weeping with tears. So profusely, the people gather around him, and they're surprised what is going on. There are two grown-up men are sitting in the park, and one of them is crying with tears. This is his experience that he wrote. So he wrote a long article on Janab Zainab. That is on the internet. So go to David Pinault's web page and find this article and read it. So these are the three works that I have seen and I have read in the modern world, in the academic world. And this is very important for us to get involved in this. Now, many of our young men are getting into Islamic studies, and they're choosing Shia Islam, Shia Hadith, or Quran, and that's a very good trend. And Janab Zainab is a very ripe subject in this. Now, I just want to leave you with some of my own passion for Karbala and Janab Zainab in a few words. So, Janab Zainab's story, what is Janab Zainab's story? She is the daughter of Janab Fatima and Hazrat Ali, and she grows up in a very protected environment. Very protected environment. And just to complete the story, let me give you one short episode. That after the passing away of Janab Fatima, several years later, Janab Zainab comes to her father and says, Baba, I want to visit my mother's grave. And Maula Ali says, wait until it's dark. This is Medina, the city in which this whole family has grown up, and she as a princess. But Maula Ali waits until it is dark. When darkness falls, Maula Ali at this time has 11 sons. Now the 11 brothers surround the sister, with Maula Ali himself with his sword on his shoulder, and that is how they walk up to the Waqi to visit the grave of Janab Sayyida. This is the scene I wanted to bring to you. This is how Zainab has grown up. What happens in Karbala? What happens in Karbala? Suddenly, this whole caravan, all men are killed. There are hundreds of battles in human history. Two armies come, fight, one army is victorious and other is defeated, and then they go home. The battle decides and then they go home. What happens at Karbala? Why are the tents burnt? Why are the chadars taken? This is the point that we have to emphasize to our growing children. What is the importance of this thing? What was in the mind of the enemies? Why they wanted to do all this? What is the importance of all this? Now, a young woman who has grown up with such a protected environment, and suddenly all this happens to her, what should be her reaction? What is going on in her own mind? This is what we have to imagine. Now we hear every year about burning the tents, chadars being looted, and we cry and weep and we go home. And then the next year comes and we do the same thing. But I want every moment, young man, young woman, to try to experience it. What happens when your house burns? May Allah save you from all kinds of calamity like this. But this has happened with the Ahlul Bayt. And I can only tell from my own experience. I was 9 years old. We lived in Lucknow. Now those people who have lived in Lucknow, they know the dry heat of that part of India. Totally dry heat. Everything dries completely. In the middle of June, temperature goes to 102, 103, 104, and a hot air blows, and a common man can get a heat stroke, and they do, and they die. It is so hot, and our house was on fire in the middle of all this. I, my mother, and 3 brothers and sisters, my father at work, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and there are flames shooting up in the sky. This is a very close neighborhood, good people. They all see what is going on. And our servant opens, the maid servant opens the door. And the entire neighborhood, the women, come into the house to help us. My mother is in bed with a high fever. One of the women, the neighbors, she picks up the white bed sheet, wraps my mother in it, and she basically carries her outside of the house with us toddling around behind her. I cannot forget that scene ever in my life. First time, nobody in the neighborhood knew whether my mother was big, small, tall, or short. The carriages would come in close to the door, and she would go in the carriage, and the carriage would go. Nobody knew what size she was. This is the first time in my life. I was 9 years old when I saw that my mother, barefoot, clad in a white bed sheet, walking with her 2 little white feet gingerly on the black tar from this house to that house. I cannot forget that. That the pain and the experience, I just cannot explain it, how much that affected. Now imagine that is happening with Ahlul Bayt. Tents are burning, children are running around, women trying to collect the children, trying to save. This is what is happening on the evening of Ashura in Karbala. And this is what Zainab is going through. Now, in our life, our women go out, they take bus rides, they take a taxi, they go to the doctors, they go to the shops. Occasionally, someone misbehaves with the woman. What happens to her? What does she do? She keeps quiet, she does sabr, and she comes home, and then she talks to the husband, to the father, to the brother, and she cries. And she cries. Because she was holding all that passion there, she wouldn't cry in public. She's a Sharif lady. This is what will happen. Now, what happens to Zainab? Zainab comes to Medina. What has happened with Zainab? Everything has happened with Zainab. Everything has happened with Zainab. What should be Zainab's reaction? Abdullah ibn Jafar comes in and they look at each other. How do you think Zainab would react to her husband?
Much has been said with such utter eloquence and with such tremendous depth, both of passion, of feeling, of historical understanding, as well as analysis. So I really don't have much to say. I don't have much to say. First thing I have to say is that it gives me so much pleasure to see people here who are pioneers, who are originators of Azadari in the entire United States. And it lets us realize how recent this phenomenon is, and yet within a space of less than 50 years, we have managed to bring it to a point where we have these beautiful, you're driving past Irvington and you hardly know that inside here there is this thing of such tremendous beauty and which will last, inshallah, for the rest of time and which will only grow and multiply. But the seed crystal has to be given a lot of credit. Azadari might become big and huge and very well developed, and like Mohsin Bhai said, it might go into the world of academia and theory and so on and so forth. But what we cannot forget is this first generation of people who came and started. So I commend you for this, those who are here and those who are not here, for having done that and have made life much easier for people like me. There is one line in Urdu poetry which I translate that goes that after Zahra, we found a Saniya Zahra. But after Zainab, we did not find a Saniya Zahra. And perhaps the reason for that, and many of you have already alluded to it, so I'm just sort of formalizing it, is that her, Janabi Zainab's trials were much more severe. The conditions under which she articulated her passion were extremely, extremely inimical. And she has three names which link her to three Masumi. First of all, her name is Zainab, which means that the pride of the father. So she is related to Imam Ali. She is known as Saniya Zahra. So she is related to Bibi Fatima. And one thing which we all use, didn't come out today, is that she's also known as Sharikatul Hussain. Sharikatul Hussain, she is a companion and equal in the Imamat as well. Now, I teach management and I am always envious of people who teach divinity and political science and ethics and all. They can integrate Karbala into their work. It's very difficult for me, but one of the principles of management that we teach is leadership. And in leadership, these three qualities are rather important. One is the ability to articulate, to take the thought into the word, and to take the word to the people. And of course, when you're addressing large numbers of people, to reach all of them. And that requires a tremendous amount of oratorical ability. In the world of Arabia, the oratorical ability was highly prized, highly valued. And particularly the tradition that came about is the tradition of the khutbah, as you know. And we should be very proud that some of the greatest khutbahs in the history of Arabic literature, I'm not talking about religiosity, but in the world of Arabic literature, are given by people who are associated with the sort of Shia traditions. The earliest khutbah, which has all been, by the way, transcribed and analyzed, is given by Hazrat Abu Talib at the occasion of the marriage of Prophet Muhammad. And then Prophet Muhammad's khutbah at the moment of the Dawat-e Zul Ashira. That is where Ghadir sort of footnotes it and Zul Ashira starts it. These are two. Imam Ali's khutbahs, which came primarily during his Friday sermons when his Zahiri Khilafat was going on, but also the ones on the battlefield of Siffin. These are all khutbahs which have been sort of transcribed and understood, and when analyzed from a literary tradition, each one of them very, very different. And as a minor footnote, I would say that Hazrat Abbas's khutbah just before the moment of leaving the Hajj on the 8th of Zilhijj, 61st Hijri. And Imam Hussein's khutbah, particularly the final khutbah that he gave before he commenced the battle. These are all great traditions. But in the Arab tradition, the two or three, I would say, great khutbahs that have been given by women. The first is Bibi Fatima's khutbah in the court of Abu Bakr, where she gave, as a lawyer, you would really appreciate the way in which the case was laid out in tremendous legal, historical, and more importantly, oratorical terms. And then the two khutbahs of Bibi Zainab, one in Kufa and one in Sham, and particularly in the Darbar of Sham. they have all been analyzed. And what they point out to are the three attributes that make leadership very, very central to us. First is this articulation. The second is courage. Because when you are faced with enormous power, when you are faced with a tremendous amount of forces arrayed against you, the normal, should I say, tendency of people is to hold back, is to find a way in which to create a common ground. But here the matter of principle was so intense that the khutbah, the last khutbah of Bibi Zainab in the court of Yazid is simply a demonstration of the kind of courage that we cannot even imagine. To stand there and look at this man who runs half the world and say to him that you are not only the killer of my brother, but you are the one who is avenging the deaths of all those that the Muslims killed in Badr. So to link him up to that, we all say this in the majalis that Karbala was actually a sort of revenge for Badr and all. This was articulated by Bibi Zainab in that particular sermon. That's a very important step. And the final point is the act of patience. Now, patience or sabr, as we understand, is really submission to the will of God, submission to the will of circumstances. But one aspect of patience that is very important to leadership is to pull people together at a point in time when everything is sort of arrayed against you. So during the Sham-e-Ghariba, Maulana also brought out that first of all we have to remember that this is not metaphor. This is the physical reality. Janab-e-Zainab saved Imamat from the fire. She did not, we can say that in a metaphorical sense. She actually did it. But once the night comes, and this is a night of terrible tragedy, this is a night of complete desolation and despair, to stand there and tell everybody, don't worry, I am here. Just that one thing, I am here. And then everybody in that difficult circumstances actually has the settling of the nerves to go to sleep. That is the character of leadership that Janab-e-ZAINAB observed. And the last, and I want to say this, that this is my experience, that once I met this woman, her name is Diane D'Souza, and she was speaking at the Henry Martin Institute, and she spoke about Janab-e-ZAINAB, and she was a feminist scholar who had done a lot of work on women leaders. And I asked her, you think very highly of Janab-e-ZAINAB. In history, have you come across a figure who embodies that bravery? And she thought, she didn't expect that question. She thought for a while. And she said, no. And I thought, this is the greatest tribute I have ever heard to Bibi Zainab. Thank you very much. We are there now, mashallah. Both of these gentlemen have been very kind to me, Brother Mohsin and Brother Amir, in giving me a segue to the next speaker, Dr. Hatim Abu Sharaha. Dr. Hatim is a mentor to many. Most importantly, he represents the Egyptian community, which has decided to, mashallah, adopt this center, and they're working with Brother Sayyid Nawab Musawi in advancing the cause of Al-Bad. So, as our keynote speaker, I request Dr. Abu Sharaha to please enlighten us on the life and times of the
على أشرف المرسلين حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم محمد. I want to welcome all of you, mashallah. It's a very good day. We used to celebrate this day, no any other center who dedicate one full day for Mawlatana Zainab alayha salam. And one of the most important thing in that day, that is the only day when we see Sayyid Shawkat. He visit us once a year, but it is enough to bring us all the blessings, mashallah. Yes. But of course, this year we are missing one very important personality which used to participate with us in every YOM-e-ZAINAB. We miss him badly. We miss him for almost 1 year now. Since the last YOM-e-ZAINAB last year, we didn't see him again for some bad event or unluck has happened here in this hall. It was never intentional, or it was never planned to have such a thing. It just was accidental. So in the name of the Zainabia and all the people who attend Zainabia, I apologize openly to Maulana Sayyid Muhammad Hussein Zaidi for whatever has happened in YOM-e-ZAINAB last year. I'm talking to him not on behalf of myself, but on behalf of Sayyid Nawab, all the people of Zainabia. Maulana Zaidi, we miss you. Wallahi, we miss you a lot. Zainabia without you become like a body without head. We need the head back. So hopefully, inshallah, next year, we are not waiting for the next year. We should start to see him right away, inshallah. But definitely, in YOM-e-ZAINAB next year, we will enjoy Maulana Zaidi again. He is my role model. He is my preferred alim, masha'Allah. The amount of ilm he has, it is much more than you can imagine, masha'Allah. So hopefully, inshallah, he will rejoin us and we enjoy his company, and we enjoy again his widespread spectrum of ilm in every aspect. He speaks Arabic much better than all the Arab people I ever met. MashaAllah. Yes. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Brother Imran said something very nice. He said that every evil come and represented in Yazid la'natullah. So if you want to make a ziyarah make a la'na for Yazid, so you can say la'na on you, the inheritor, وارث الشيطان عدو الله, وارث فرعون عدو. He is the inheritor of all of those. So, and this actually reminds me of something important. When in the battle of Al-Khandaq, the battle of Al-Ahzab, when Imam Ali stand for Amr ibn Abdud, what the Prophet said, لقد خرج الإيمان كله للكفر كله. That is what happened with Zainab. لقد خرج الإيمان كله represented in Zainab, for الكفر كله represented in Yazid لعنة. And also the Prophet said that لضربة علي يوم الخندق تعادل عبادة الثقلين إلى يوم القيامة. And I am added that the words of Zainab to Yazid in Damascus equal to the all ibadah of Thaqalain to Yawm al-Qiyamah. My brothers, I didn't want to take a lot of your time, but just I want to your attention with me because Alhamdulillah, Sayyid Shawkat with us, so it's very suitable for him to be here while I am saying that, because he will understand me very well. I want to make some political aspect to what Sayyidah Zainab alayhi salam did. I hear some of our brothers said that Sayyidah Zainab alayhi salam, she saved the Islam on that day in front of Yazid. We return back to that time when they confiscate the Khilafah from Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, and they start a new system based on Ashura and the Saqifa and all this stuff. Imam Ali alayhi salam preferred to take the position of the he take the role of the opposition, democratic opposition, constructive opposition. He used to advise the Khulafa, he used to correct them, but it was peaceful opposition. When Imam Ali alayhi salam took the Khilafah based on their system, he took the Khilafah based on their political system, who they established it. And still the Khilafah arrived to him. So instead of doing the same thing, and they choose the role of the democratic, peaceful opposition, they choose the way of armed rebellion against the government. Yes, they lead an armed opposition against the government of Imam Ali alayhi salam. At the end, after the pact between Imam al-Hassan, it was just a ceasefire agreement between Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam and Muawiyah la'natullahi alayhi. They exchange. Imam Ali gave him the government and he will be in the opposition. They exchange the side. Muawiyah, we have to pay attention to that. Muawiyah was a smart guy. He said that this establishment, Islam, that is the thing which put me in the power. So I will keep the label. I will keep the label. But behind the label, I will do whatever I want. You see? So he become like any owner of a restaurant who put a label that we sell halal meat. He keep the label. But whatever he wants. But just keep the label. Keep working under this label. So that's Muawiyah exactly did. And he knew that his son is stupid. So he advised him. He told him, don't turn away the label. Keep the label. And do whatever you want. Enjoy your life as you want behind this label. Don't turn it away. But Yazid was a stupid. He was liberal. He was totally secular. He was not a believer. So he didn't like to work behind this label. He wanted to turn away the label. What is the label? Islam. He knows that he can't destroy Islam without first destroying the pillar of Islam. And he knows that the pillar of Islam is Ahlul Bayt alayhim. He knows that very well. No access to destroy that banner, Islam, except when he destroy the Islam itself, the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. And who represent Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam at that time, the reference, the marja of Islam, was Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. That is why he, from the first moment, his first decision to send the letter to his governor in Al-Madinah, Al-Walid ibn Uqba ibn Abi Sufyan, he was his cousin, that take Hussein and take the bay'ah from him. And if he didn't give the bay'ah, execute him right away. Why Imam Hussein? There was many other personalities which was against Yazid. But he insists on Imam al-Hussein. And he started to make the plot to kill Imam al-Hussein because he knows that when he kill Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, that will be the end of the Islam as a banner, as a label. So after Karbala, after he achieved his mission in Karbala by killing Imam al-Hussein and most of the household of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the historians said that when they kept the family of the Prophet in the prison in Al-Kufa, in the prison of Ibn Ziyad, they sent for them a rock with a letter tied to it. And in this letter, they wrote down that we send the mail to the Khalifa in Damascus asking him what we should do with you. The mail will return back after 2 weeks. So if you guys, if you prisoners, you listen to the takbir, so make your wasiyah. This means that the order has come to execute all of you, to kill all of you. If you didn't hear that, then thank God that you will be saved. The historian said that when the orders come from Yazid, ordering Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad to send the household of the Prophet in captivity to Damascus, he was surprised. Imagine, even Ibn Ziyad, the tyrant, was surprised. Why Yazid? Because that was not the habit. Yes, he used to send the heads. But why the family? Why the females? Why the children? That was not usual. But later on, he understand what is the aim of Yazid from doing that. Yazid, he want to make a preliminary step before his final decision to turn away the label, which is Islam. So he want to humiliate in public. In front of, at that time there was no social media, no propaganda. So the only way to declare to everybody that the time of Islam is coming to an end is to show all of them, those are the household of the Prophet, their heads over you, and even their females are humiliated in bandage in front of you. That was his main intention from this cursed parade until Ash-Sham. And he ordered that in every village and city they plan a celebration to make this news go everywhere. So when they arrived to the palace of Yazid, that is what I want to mention to you. The intention of Yazid at that moment to declare the final decision of destroying that label, destroying Islam, and that from now and on he will be a totalitarian leader, not under any banner, because he was liberal. He didn't want to work under any banner. He rejected this idea. So that's why he disobeyed his father. And he want to turn away even the label. That's it. So, and that is exactly what Sayyidah Zainab alayhi salam recognized. So when he starts to declare it openly, now in the court, in his courts, he starts to declare it through his poem. لا أكن من خندف إن لم أنتقم من آل أحمد ما كان قد فعل. And he ended the poem by very clear declaration that there is no Islam after that. فلا وحي جاء ولا شيء قد نزل. He declared that the prophethood was fake, then Islam is fake. He is announcing that to everybody. So he want to tell them officially that from now and on, yes, Islam bring me to power, but from now and on, I am free from this banner.
Very nice.
To give you another example from our nowadays, right? This Mr. Erdogan, he raised to power through what? Through the Ataturkism, they called it, Ataturk way, the Ataturk regime, the secular regime. That is the regime which take him to power. Now he become in power, he want to turn the label and throw it away. He want to take another way now. He's not working under the secular regime anymore or under Ataturk regime anymore. That is why he planned this coup and take advantage of that and send hundreds of thousands of people to prison to get rid of this label. Once, and that is exactly what Yazid want to do. Sayyidah Zainab alayhi salam recognized that. That's why just when he finished his poem, she burst in front of his face right away. And that is very important, my brothers, because you know what? That moment was fateful in the history of Islam. For all Muslims, That is not about Sunnah or Shia or Sufi or any sect of Islam. Yes. When you are in the lower level of defeat, you have been defeated. People look for any source of a small light anywhere they can't find. I give you an example also from the life. At the spring of 1941, the Nazis were on the climax of their victory. They now rule all Europe. The Americans refrained from joining the fight. Now Japan and Italy, they were joining them in the Axis. And everything was now under their control except for England. That's it. So that's why Hitler decided that he will not attack England, because he's just waiting. They said that he was just waiting behind the phone, waiting for a call from the leader of the British to surrender to him, because which hope left for them? Nothing. Nothing. That is the defeat, very clear. But what happened? One voice, just one voice, stand from under the rebel in England, in London. That was the voice of Winston Churchill. He stand up between all this defeatism, between all these bad circumstances, and they declare that we will never surrender. Yes, we lost the battle, but we will never lose the war. And at that moment, at the bottom of the defeat, he made this very famous symbol, victory. It gives hope to everyone to continue the fight. And yes, they continue the fight until the tide has turned against the tyrant. That is exactly, but that was a fight between the dunya, between two dark sides. But Sayyida Zainab alayhi salam did the same thing exactly. From under the rebel, from the lower defeat at all, no hope for Islam, she stand up and she told him clearly, that is what she meant in her speech. Yes, yes, you win a battle, but you will never win the war. Will be the victorious at the end. You will never can eradicate Islam. You will never can turn away this label at all. We are going to be here and you are going to leave soon. This just word, it sends the hope at the end of the tunnel to all the mu'mineen everywhere. That is why you find her word resonate immediately for the people in Al-Madinah, and then the rebellion of Al-Harra has started in Medina and in Mecca, and that's why Abdullah ibn Zubair take advantage of the words of Sayyidah Zainab alayhi salam and urge people to rise. It sends a hope to the Muslim Ummah that don't worry, we will be victorious. And she was so clever. I don't know if you noticed the debates between Mrs. Clinton and Mr. Trump. Mrs. Clinton was very able to play on the nerves of Mr. Trump. Sayyida Zainab alayhi salam was very able to play on the nerves of Yazid. She knows that he is so foolish and he is so stupid. And look at this example. One of his soldier, he asked, as a brother said, I want Fatima to be my slave. So Sayyida Zainab immediately told him, La wallahi, that is not for you. She is talking to the guy. And then very skillfully she said, it is not for you nor for him. He was not engaged in that, but she engaged him in the discussion. Then he becomes so upset and told her, no, it is for me, and if I want it, I can order it to be done like that. Then she started to take him. Oh yes, you can do that, but first come out of our deen. At that moment she reminded him that you take this position because of the deen. the Islam take you to this. You can't now destroy Islam and you stay over there. He want to ignore that. That is which nobody can say to Mr. Erdogan that wait a minute, you take this position in the head, as a head of the state because of this secular regime. You can't destroy it now. Nobody said that to him. But Sayyida Zainab said that to him, that you are in this position because of that's why she meant when she told him, but when he told her إنما خرج من الدين أبوك وأخوك, she told him through the religion of my grandfather and my father, you and your parents has been guided to Islam. She want to tell him that whatever you have in your hand, that is our establishment. We establish this. You can't destroy it and you still in your place. If you want to destroy it, you will be destroyed with it. And that's exactly what has happened. How many years Yazid end after that? And not only Yazid, the whole establishment of the Umayyad dynasty at that moment has been collapsed. Yes, after Yazid, his son has been poisoned, and then they start to fight with each other. Why? Because they want to take away the banner of Islam. And they then force it through Marwan ibn al-Hakam to return back this banner and to work under it. So Sayyida Zainab alayhi salam, through her position and her words, it saved the Islam. Islam was on the verge of total destruction. So all the Muslimin, they should know very well that they owe their Islam to these words of Sayyida Zainab alayhi salam, what was in the worst of time, but she never lost hope in the final victory. That the final victory will be to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and to the blood of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless all of you, and inshallah we will always gather here on the YOM-e-ZAINAB, or the day of Sayyida Zainab alayhi salam. Thank you so much, Sayyid Shawkat. May Allah bless you b'haqq Muhammad wa al-Muhammad, and hopefully we can make 2 day of Zainab in the year, so we can see you two times. Assalamu alaikum, my brother. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Presentation. This is amazing. We knew you are a physician, doctor, but not somebody who conducts a whole surgery of the anatomy of Shaitaniyat, of Yazid and our enemies. We are very thankful, brother and sister. Well, we have arrived to the end, the conclusion of this, mashallah, extremely program. Before I invite, before we invite our brother for a word of thanks, I must take this opportunity, even though we don't thank him, brother Sayyid Nawab and his family, Mana, sister Mana Agha, all of them are so devoted and dedicated for facilitating this YOM-e-ZAINAB, you know, so selfless servants of these are, you know, they don't accept any money, they don't accept any donations, they're doing this year after year, mashallah. And you have done such a tremendous job, brother, to have all of us, the Mu'mineen, here together for not only YOM-e-ZAINAB, the whole across, you know, throughout the course of the year. So I'm greatly obliged to really salute you, brother, for that and your family. Salawat. After that beautiful summation by Dr. Abu Shabaha about the life and time of the Zainab, we have, and he, mashallah, so eloquently put the things in perspective of politics of the time, of people like Erdogan and Sir Winston Churchill, and you know, the metaphoric references, and they were beautiful. We have really come to a conclusion inshallah, that this program of Zainab Day must be enhanced, must be improved to the extent that we get larger participation, especially from our youth. I ask Brother Ehtisham Hadar Nafri to please give the vote of thanks. Brother Ehtisham Hadar Nafri.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम। सबसे पहले तो मैं अपने परवरदिगार का शुक्र अदा करता हूँ कि उसने मुझे इस सरज़मीन पर 40 साल पहले भेजा, और मुझे आज याद है, मैं अभी उम्र भी बता दूंगा आपको, 40 साल पहले जब मैं यहाँ पर आया तो डॉक्टर कल्बे सादिक साहब यहाँ पर मजलिस पढ़ने के लिए आए थे, और मैंने उनसे इस्तिखारा दिखलाया कि मेरे वालिद मरहूम का इंतकाल हो गया है तो मैं पाकिस्तान जाना चाहता हूँ। और आए हुए 3 महीने हुए थे। उन्होंने कहा कि जब तुम आए चले थे तो इस्तिखारा दिखवाया था तुमने? मैंने कहा जी मैंने दिखाया था। कह रहे हैं तो अब इस्तिखारे की ज़रूरत नहीं है, इस्तिहारे की ज़रूरत है, आपका दिल चाहे तो चले जाएँ। इसलिए इस्तिखारा जब आ जाता है तो इसका मतलब है कि अल्लाह ताला को आपकी ज़रूरत है यहाँ पर। आहिस्ता आहिस्ता मुझे एहसास हुआ कि वाकई फ़र्श आज़ादारी पे मेरी खिदमत की ज़रूरत है, और मैंने इसको अपना दीन और ईमान समझ कर महफ़िल शाह खुरासान से इसकी इब्तिदा की, और परवरदिगार ने पिछले 21 साल में, ये ज़ैनबिया 9 जून 1991 में, ख़ैर 96 में 21 साल इस ज़ैनबिया को हो चुके हैं। मुझे नहीं पता था कि मुझे थैंक करना है या कुछ पढ़ना है, इसलिए कि रात की शबीदारी के बाद किसी तरीके से फिज़िकली मेंटली तैयार नहीं था, और सोने पे सुहागा ये होगा, टेलीफोन मेरा डेड हो गया, तो उसमें जो मेरा चीज़ें थी वो भी ख़त्म। मैंने इस्तेफ़ादा किया इस वक्त 2 किताबों से, जनाब ज़ैनब सानी ज़हर सलामुल्लाह अलैह की, डॉक्टर मंजूर इज़्ज़ी की किताब यहाँ पर, तो बड़ा इत्मीनान था कि अगर कुछ ज़रूरत पड़ी तो वहाँ से ले लिया जाएगा। दूसरी ये कि जब किसी भी प्रोग्राम के लिए एक मिशन होता है और उसका विजन होता है। मैं इस्तिफ़ादा कर रहा हूँ इस वक्त डॉक्टर क़याम आज़मी साहब की किताब से, जिसमें उन्होंने हुसैन का पैगाम अपने अज़ादारों के नाम, चूँकि ये उस्ताद का कलाम है, मेरे मेंटोर हैं, तो मैं चाहूँगा कि अगर इजाज़त हो तो मैं जल्दी इसको और फिर कंक्लूड करूँगा। मेरा पैगाम ज़माने को सुनाने वालों, इस सब के लिए जो मेरा पैगाम ज़माने को सुनाने वालों, मेरे ज़ख्मों को कलेजे से लगाने वालों, मेरे मातम से ज़माने को जगाने वालों, करबला क्या है ये दुनिया को बताने वालों, दिल मुस्तर के धड़कने की सदा भी सुन लो, आज इस चाहने वाले का गिला भी सुन लो। याद तो होगा तुम्हें करबला का वो मुकाम, जिसके सन्नाटे में गुम हमा लश्कर शाम। ये हज़रत इमाम हुसैन का पैगाम है। मैंने ज़ैनब को दिया था दमे रुखसत ये पैगाम, लौट कर जाना तो कहना मेरे शियों को सलाम। दर से ईसार और मोहब्बत के दिया था मैंने, ज़ेर खंजर भी तुम्हें याद किया था मैंने। अपनी अजमत का कुछ एहसास तुम्हें है कि नहीं, दिल को गरमाए जो वो प्यास तुम्हें है कि नहीं। एहतरामे रहे अब्बास तुम्हें है कि नहीं, मेरे मकसद का भी कुछ पास तुम्हें है कि नहीं। जाके मस्जिद में पयामे दिलो जाबी देते, नौहा मेरे बने थे तो अजाबी देते। जिस चमन के लिए बरसा अली अकबर का लहू, जिस पे टपका है गुलुए अली असगर का लहू, बह गया जिसके लिए मेरे भरे घर का लहू, काम जिस दीन पे आया है 72 का लहू। तुम उसी दीन की अजमत का सबक भूल गए, मेरी मजलिस तो पड़ी और मेरा हक भूल गए। दिल को तड़पा न सके जो वो मोहब्बत कैसी, जिससे शोले न हो पैदा वो हरारत कैसी। मेरे मकसद की नहीं फिक्र तो उल्फत कैसी, सर्द है जोश अमल गर तो अताअत कैसी। जिससे सैराब न हो वो रूह वो पैमाना क्या, दूर मस्जिद से जो कर दे वो अज़ा खाना क्या। فرش مجلس پہ یہ آپس میں عداوت کیسی ہے؟ سب کے لیے پیغام ہے، میرے لیے بھی، آپ کے لیے سب۔ فرش مجلس پہ یہ آپس میں عداوت کیوں ہے؟ میرا غم جس میں ہے اس دل میں کدورت کیوں ہے؟ بھائی بھائی سے ہے نالا یہ حماقت کیوں ہے؟ میرے ماتم میں یہ اغیار کی سیرت کیوں ہے؟ ہوا حملہ کوئی مقصد تھے تو رد کر نہ سکے، میرا ماتم تو کیا میری مدد کر نہ سکے۔ بے سبب اہل محبت پہ نہ تنقید کرو، بے سبب اہل محبت پہ نہ تنقید کرو، ہر غلط بات غلط فکر کی تردید کرو، میرے اصحاب کے کردار کی تجدید کرو، اپنے کردار سے اٹھ کر میری تائید کرو، ورنہ اشکوں کی یہ دولت مجھے واپس کر دو، میرا غم میری محبت مجھے واپس کر دو۔ اس سے پہلے کہ میں اس پروگرام کو اختتام پر لے کے آؤں، میں زینبیہ کے تمام اراکین کی جانب سے، پورے کانگریگیشن کی جانب سے، نواب آغا صاحب کی جانب سے، اپنی جانب سے، تمام خواتین کی جانب سے، تمام شرکاء اور جو آج کے مقرر تھے، ان سب کا شکریہ ادا کرتا ہوں، اور پروردگار سے دعا کروں کہ جس طریقے سے ڈاکٹر ابو شابہ صاحب نے ایک غلط فہمی کی طرف اشارہ کیا، وہ شاید دور بہت جلد ہو جائے، اور آپ سب کی اس میں کاوشیں ہوں گی۔ یقیناً ہمارا یا کسی کا بھی مقصد یہ نہیں ہے، یہ فرش اعضا ہے، اور اسی لیے میں نے اس وقت یہ میسج بھی پڑھا۔ سلام عصمت زہرا کے ورث دار، سلام سلام جرت حیدر کی یادگار، سلام سلام عظمت زہرا کی شاہکار، سلام سلام مملکت غم کی تاجدار، سلام وقار مریم و حوا، سلام ہو تم پر، سلام ثانی زہرا، سلام ہو تم پر، گواہ ہے تیری جرت پہ کربلا کی زمین، امام وقت کو کی تو نے صبر کی تلقین، لٹا کے اپنی کمائی بچائی دولت دین، بجھا کے شمع تمنا جلائے شمع یقین، سکون و صبر کی ایک کائنات لے کے چلی، اجل کی گود سے نکلی حیات لے کے چلی، جگر پہ اکبر و قاسم کا داغ اٹھائے ہوئے، ضعیف جسم پہ دروں کے زخم کھائے ہوئے، گرامی رسموں تو آزمائے ہوئے، جو درد دل تھا اسی کو دوا بنائے ہوئے اور سوے دمشق چلے حق کی روشنی لے کر جو مر چکے تھے خود ان کی بے زندگی لے کر قدم قدم پہ مقاصد کی عظمتوں کا خیال نفس نفس میں بھتیجے کی زندگی کا سوال ردا چھنی تو بڑا اور عصمتوں کا خیال کھلے جو بال تو نکھرا حسینیت کا جمال اور نقیب فتح شہ مشرقین بن کے چلی نہ تھے حسین تو زینب حسین بن کے چلی دلوں پہ ثانی زہرا یہ تیرا احسان ہے عطا کیا ہے وہ آنسو جو روح ایمان ہے دیا وہ درد جو ہر درد دل کا درمان ہے ملا وہ زور جو انسانیت کا عنوان ہے یہ کس زبان سے کہوں میرے دل کی دولت ہے غمِ حسین تیری دی ہوئی امانت ہے خدا حافظ
اللهم صل على